Welcome back. Far-left progressive politics gaining momentum within the Democrat Party. Self-proclaimed socialist candidates nearly sweeping in several midterm primaries, putting pressure on the mainstream Democrats to go along with their ideals, socialist ideals. The Democratic Socialists of America unveiling an updated platform earlier this week where they call to eliminate the Senate, replace the presidency and the judiciary with whomever is chosen by Congress. Joining me now is 20-year-old political commentator and best-selling author Brilyn Hollyhand. Brilyn, good to see you. Thank you so much for being here.
Happy Friday,
I want to get your take on what your generation thinks of all of this. Are they going along with these socialist ideas?
We're not buying it. I'll tell you that, Maria. Listen, the goal of these socialists is to make government our God in life. So the reason that they told us that patriotism is dangerous, that faith is dangerous, that big families are dangerous is because they want to control us and have us live off of them and solely off of them. We live in an instant gratification culture in my generation. So if I want a coffee or a new pair of shoes or maybe a new car, I can click a button on my phone, have it delivered to my door overnight. They want us to think that socialism is this instant, click a button, one-size-fits-all solution to all of the world's problems, and we know it's simply not. Eventually you run out of other people's money, but that doesn't fit on the bumper sticker.
Yeah, good point. Now, you've got an op-ed in the New York Post. You say, as Americans, quote, our task is not simply to defeat socialism at the ballot box. We must raise a generation that understands why America is worth defending in the first place. Good point. Tell us more.
Yeah, I think Mamdani came in with all these big viral catchphrases that caught my generation through TikTok trends. He said he was going to say freeze rent, and now rent is up in New York City at 40% higher than it's ever been. He said he was going to make free buses, and now metro fares are up 20%. And he even said, and this really caught my generation's attention, that he was going to tax the rich. And Maria, you've seen it. All of the rich have now fled the city, and they took the taxes they ran the city off of with that revenue with them. So when Gen Z looks into this, and maybe they see that socialism has failed literally every single time it's been tried, and people build rafts out of garbage to flee socialist countries, we shouldn't try it here in this beautiful country that survived 250 years without it.
That's right. Well, it's a good point that you make, but, you know, I mean, who is buying it? I mean, there's a conversation underway in New York, like, that he has all this support. Who do you think is buying these ideas that he's selling?
I think it's a lot of people that are frustrated with the status quo, that are frustrated with the establishment, and they view this guy as the solution to the problems. Unfortunately, he's like a con man used car salesman who can't follow up on anything that he delivers. And time again, he says these things with a slug smile and a little suit on. But once you look past the catchphrases and the trends and the little bumper stickers, it doesn't actually pan out very well. And maybe, just maybe, Maria, if we stop teaching gender pronouns in our history classes and the horrors of socialism, Gen Z would know that this was never going to work.
Yeah, great point. So what do the Republicans need to do to ensure that they are messaging out the truth? I spoke with the head of the RNC this week, Joe Gruters, and he has a plan. Here's what he said. Watch this.
When you have Mamdani, AOC, Bernie Sanders leading your party, they're going to continue to move further and further to the left. And yeah, they're completely out of control. And that's what this November election is all about. It's about the craziness and these leftist radicals on the left versus reasonableness and common sense on the right. The Democrats lost their way. They lost the going to bat for the average American and the American worker when President Trump took over. And now they're trying to do whatever they can. And now they're beholden to these socialists. And the socialist agenda, it's never going to fly here in America.
Yeah, I mean, basically what he said is we're going to make sure that we've got MAGA candidates in place come November and in elections in general, Brilyn. Is that the way to go? Tell me what you think the answer here is for Republicans to ensure that they're messaging out to all groups, your generation and beyond, that capitalism works and let's not take a step back towards socialism.
Yes, ma'am, it certainly is. I think we have to earn Gen Z's vote and not act like we're entitled to it. So the reason that the Democrats lost their monopoly on my generation last election in 24 was because they pretended like they were entitled to our vote and did nothing to work for it. They made empty promise after empty promise. They didn't deliver on a single thing. And finally, we took our rose-colored glasses off and started seeing the real truth. I think President Trump needs to go to college campuses. He needs to do a speaking tour directly to our generation, lay out the list of promises that he's kept, and then make a new set of promises, kind of like a contract with America 2.0, as he goes into his second, opportunity here to have a majority. I think that is how we earn Gen Z's vote instead of acting like we're entitled to it. And that's how we're going to get a generational support, not a one-time support from Gen Z.
Well, part of the issue is that your generation is facing a tough jobs market, right? Because of artificial intelligence or the fears over AI taking jobs. Got a new report showing Gen Z is moving toward trade schools and into blue-collar jobs. Major companies already laying off thousands of employees as they implement AI into their workflows. But, Brilyn, we spoke with the president of Meta recently, Dina Powell-McCormick, who told me she needs the industry is going to need 500,000 electricians. So is it a demand situation where we just need those people, that's why your generation is going into trade schools? Or is there just a souring of typical university and going further in white-collar positions?
Well, Maria, I was sitting in a high school classroom this time last year, and AI was talked about like this, taboo swear word that you couldn't address. We weren't taught how to use it properly. We were just told that we couldn't even acknowledge its existence. So we don't know how to use AI as we get into a workforce that's going to be dominated by AI. I think classes need to understand how to properly teach the good uses of it. Therefore, we're trained, we're ready to use it as an assistant to our job, not a replacement to our job. That's how we dominate as our generation wants to come in and buy our first house, start a family, all because we need this first job out of college to attain the American dream. Now, there's been this big push on social media that you might have seen where they're trying to convince Gen Z to be in favor of banning some of these data centers. And as much as we absolutely need to protect America's farmland, a lot of what we've seen this come from is Chinese misinformation that's been pushed through TikTok to convince us that AI is bad, that some of these big data centers are bad, so that they can get the upper hand and have an advantage over the U.S. if we stop some of this growth. So there's a catch buff 2020 to both of this, and we need to understand how to properly use AI before it replaces all of us.
So do you think that China is behind some of the upset and the protesting underway in America against data centers as a way to stop the U.S., slow us down?
Certainly. This would be their dream if we stop advancing in AI and they can take the lead in that, and our generation would be the one supporting it. In the name of the American dream, also that China can win at the end of the day, and we're not going to let it happen.
All right, Brilyn, we'll keep watching all of that. Good to see you this morning. Thanks so much.
Thank you, friend. Have a good weekend.
All right.